Before I get started, so I was going to withhold these chocolates from Chocolat Ferrari for those who ask questions, but now I'm feeling like that's probably coercive. So if everybody wants, you can pass them around, and we'll do it Sherry kindergarten style. So there's chocolate-covered blueberries and pretzels. Okay, so if anybody was like terrified by John and John's stuff, mine is a little bit more human. And so probably some of the things that they told you explicitly not to do, I have done. And I'll try to admit those along the way. Okay, so I picked 3 surveys to use as examples today that we've done in the last 12 months. We've done a lot more surveys than just 3, but these are the 3 I felt I could present upon without embarrassing anyone. So these are the Diversity and Inclusion Initiative. We conducted a membership survey. And we did one as well that was to the full membership for our awards task force. And then we also did one to do a market survey for a new certification program in public health. And so these are just the front pages of those surveys. And so obviously we don't survey just because we're bored. We all have plenty of things to do in a day. So you have to have a business need that you're trying to solve. It helps to have those questions that you know you're looking for answers to before you get started. So in the case of the Diversity and Inclusion Survey, we were specifically interested in identifying which programs were most important to our different audiences, and then which were perhaps not performing as well as we thought they were or needed them to be, so that we can take that information back to our committee and tell them, hey, these are the programs and services that have the biggest room for improvement. We'd like you guys to work with different leaders to make some changes. In the case of the awards survey, we were looking to ideally eliminate some awards. We had over 30 different awards that we're offering at the society level, managed by one absolutely wonderful person who is on maternity leave during the entirety of the award season this year. And so we're trying to fix that. You know, how many awards are really meaningful? How many do we really need to offer? And then lastly, the public health market survey it was a pretty straightforward business need was, should we do this? So, like John and John talked about, I feel bad calling them the 2 Johns, which seems weird. So first, before we even got into writing the survey or conducting the survey, we looked at the data that we already had. So this is just an example of one thing that we had put together on what our demographic data looked like. And this is age, ethnicity, and gender, and the red line in each is tracking how many nulls we have in those. And so before we conducted the D&I survey, we actually did, and I'll talk about this in depth in a minute, we did a 6-week-long campaign trying to get people just to come in and complete their profiles before we even administered the survey, so that we wouldn't have to go back to get data after the survey. Once we had the survey results, we could run with them. And so the screenshot on the left is just a reminder to use those personalized survey links. You know, I think kind of like John talked about, it's so easy to make a survey in SurveyMonkey or Survey Gizmo, and it gives you that nice short link that you can just throw out there. It is so worth the extra 45.9 seconds of your time to upload the list of people you're going to send that survey to and give everyone a personalized link, because then you're able to eliminate a lot of questions from the survey because you're going to be able to match up those responses directly with your records. And so you don't need to end the survey, unless you're trying to trick them into admitting they're cheating, what their birthday or their age is, because you've already got that data somewhere else. And so then once you've got all of the data that you know you have, that you know you can use for these business needs, then you need to figure out what gaps you have and what you're looking for. And I felt really creative, so I took a puzzle piece image and I put stuff on it. I'm a data person. This is as good as it gets for me.
I actually might steal that. It's very
good. It might be very specific to us, but yeah. You can. I'll let you swap in your text.
Okay.
So basically, these are the things we had. We had data on, in the case of the public health survey, what their involvement was in pest management. We had basic demographics, membership demographics. But these things on the right here are all the stuff that we didn't really have an idea of. So like barriers to award submissions, prestige of the individual awards, the need for a credential, that sort of thing. Those were all the pieces that we needed data for which we needed data. Okay, so at this point, you've identified your business need, you've figured out what data you have, you've figured out what data you don't have. So now we can just create a survey and send it out, right? No, sadly. That would be great. So you need support. You need to communicate with, if there's a committee or a task force that you're working with, get them to be your champions up front. But you need that buy-in so that people actually come through and take your survey. Because like John talked about, you send out 10,000 surveys, you don't want to get just 25 back. You want to get a strong response rate, even if it won't be representative. So getting that support up front so that people, when they receive the survey, they're like, oh yeah, Susie told me about this and I want to support the effort. A little bit contrary to John's comment, the added bonus of working with scientists is they love data. He's absolutely right that they love their data, but we do play to them a little bit with the wouldn't you like it if we had complete data? Yeah. Okay, so at this point, you're finally ready to start the survey work and form the questions. And it's a little counterintuitive maybe, but you want to start with the end in mind. Basically, ask questions knowing that the responses are going to come back in a shape that you can analyze. So whether that's, picking radio buttons versus checkboxes versus open text answers versus, do they really need to be able to select any of a list of 10 or should they really pick 2? All that kind of stuff. And then keeping in mind that some tools like Tableau and Power BI are going to work much better with tall data that's going to be fewer columns and a lot of rows with repeated record IDs throughout versus the human eye, or at least my eye, does better if I'm going to look at a spreadsheet with wide data, a single row for every individual. Just other things to keep in mind. Use clear, concise, consistent language. If you say membership in one place, make sure you say membership the next time. If you say journals in one place, make sure you don't say publications the next time. You want to use language that's not going to cause accidental trouble with your responses because you didn't make it clear what you were surveying on. This one's a personal pet peeve of mine, Likert scales. When people just put the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but no, with 5 being the best. Well, 4 is going to mean very different things to different people. And is 1 really so bad I never want to hear from you again? Or is it I could have done better? So labeling those Likert scales so that you know exactly what people were selecting when they picked one, because you can always turn them back into numbers later. You can give them words in the survey and then make them 1 through 5 or 10 or whatever it may be later. And then just a reminder to always consider both question and answer wording. And I pulled, obviously you're not going to write these down, but they'll be in the slides later, some question writing resources that have helped me when I've been writing surveys. The third bullet point is this, it's just a random paper from the University of Wisconsin that has a survey center. It's really helpful. It's very straightforward, basic stuff. I think it's a good paper. If I ever meet the author, I will shake their hand. And then the last 2 are suggested labels for Likert scales, because sometimes it's just hard to come up with 7 different parts of whatever attribute you're trying to survey on. Okay, so our survey has a need, it has support, it has questions. Now we can send it out. And so those are just examples of some of the emails we've used. Like John talked about, it's never a one and done thing. You don't just send 1 email and put your survey into the field. Rather, it's a sustained campaign over several weeks. We do use incentives, and you want to, really try to make sure that you get as much of a response as you can. In the case of the diversity and inclusion survey, we actually left it open from late June through October because we put out about 6 weeks worth of emails initially, and then we waited for our annual conference to come through where we could mention it there. And so we ended up getting about 1,600 responses out of the 6,000 members that it went to, which was exciting.
That is exciting, actually.
Analyze. This is the part I actually like. So this is just a mishmash of different things that I've done because I didn't want to put anybody to sleep either. But the first thing I'd like to remind everybody is it's very nice to have tools like Tableau or Power BI or Click, I understand, is out there too. But some of the stuff that's baked into those web-based survey tools is pretty robust at this point. That one on the left is from Survey Gizmo, and even just leveraging these two options to filter the responses to other questions by how people looked at a different one, or how people responded to a different one, or to look at different segments that you can identify in your data set. I mean, that's huge right there, and you don't have to do anything beyond just clicking a few buttons within Survey Gizmo and it'll generate a new report. And I know SurveyMonkey does similar things. So even if you don't have the Lamborghini, you can still go driving on Sunday. And then some of these other ones, these are from Tableau, just different things that we've done to represent the data that came back. This was, in particular, the perceived prestige of our awards, just a snippet of it, trying to figure out which ones we could chop. Unfortunately, as much as you see some red on there, we did not get just this really nice solid bar of red anywhere. And then shamelessly, I use Tableau. I'm not a shill. I don't get paid for this slide, but if anybody out there also uses Tableau, these are some really great resources for using Tableau with your survey data. And it will require some reshaping usually, which these kind of go into as well. Okay, so now we've got the data. It was completely representative. We got a 100% response rate. We're sure that nobody was just doing it for the incentive. It's like the most beautiful data ever. So now you have to actually do something with it. And so in the case of the D&I survey, we have action plans in place around 4 different initiatives that we're going to be sharing out with volunteer leaders at the annual meeting this year in November to get them working on stuff. In the case of the awards survey, we did manage to pick 5 awards that could be either moved to a section or eliminated. Sections are our chapters, which was very exciting. And kind of bonus that came out of that survey was that our students are no longer required to provide official transcripts when applying to awards. They do have to pay for those when they submit to an award, and we require an official transcript. And so we included in the survey, whether or not that was necessarily as valuable as it may have been at one point, and over 90% of the respondents said, nah, unofficial transcript on the letter is totally fine. So that was exciting. And then the ACE Public Health is moving forward. We did see a need from the market for it, and we're excited to see where that goes.